So I said, no, it was supposed to be my pentacle. Why did you die to me? I killed, I know, want to free for champions. I can't believe it.
Hello, I'm Barbara Levin with Toby's Fund for Reproductive Health Equity. Thank you for joining us. Toby's Fund is a nonprofit that helps fund abortions, emergency contraception, and pregnancy prevention for those who can't afford the services. We fund nonprofits, not individuals, and our services are only for residents of McHenry County, Illinois. We wish to help those who are capable of getting pregnant to also determine their own health decisions about their pregnancy for themselves by helping defray the costs. In this episode of Debunking Abortion Myths, we're going to deal with religion. This information can serve as talking points or help alleviate some of the pressure that a person faces when making decisions about a pregnancy. I doubt there is a soul in our world who hasn't heard the phrase, "Don't talk about religion or politics." We're going to talk about both. It is too important when discussing abortion and pregnancy prevention in the U.S. and the disconnect between those who approve of abortion rights and those who don't, and more importantly, who has the power to affect change in the politics of reproductive rights. So, with a little trepidation, here I go. People of all religions use reproductive health services, including contraceptive care and abortion, and we firmly believe that everyone deserves access to affordable and safe care that meets their individual needs with dignity and compassion. You already know that the overwhelming majority of people in the U.S. also believe this. Guttmacher Institute research shows that the majority of people who obtain an abortion in the U.S. have a religious affiliation. Some parameters here. In the U.S., in all ages, Christians make up over 70% of the population. Of that 70%, 25% of them identify as evangelical. About 21% identify as Catholic. The ages of people who are reproductively viable, that is, able to carry a pregnancy to term, are 10 to 49 years old. 63% of the 13 to 17-year-olds are Christian, 55% of the 18 to 29-year-olds, and 68% of the 30 to 49-year-olds. I don't have figures on the 10 to 13-year-olds. The most important figure that this does not represent is that a full third of all ages in the U.S. are unaffiliated. This is highest in the 13 to 17-year-olds. In contrast, the U.S. Supreme Court, who overturned Roe v. Wade, ranged in age from 51 to 84 years old. 67% of the 9 are Catholic, 1 Protestant, and 2 were Jewish. At the time of the Dobbs Decision, 3 members of the Supreme Court were women. None of the current members of the Supreme Court are currently capable of sustaining a pregnancy to term, and no member identifies as unaffiliated. The most recent Guttmacher Institute data, 17% of abortion patients identified as mainline Protestant, 13% as evangelical Protestant, 24% as Catholic, 38% reported no religious affiliation, 8% reported some other affiliation. The makeup of the judges who have decided the fate of legal, safe abortion in the states do not represent those who actually are having abortions. There's a lot of disconnect. Historically, up until the 70s, evangelicals were not against abortion, affirming in 1974 and again in 1976 that a person's decision about abortion was not the domain of the church. Jewish law as written in the Talmud thousands of years ago, has never considered that birth begins at conception and always prioritizes the pregnant person's life over the fetus. Hinduism likewise prioritizes the pregnant person's life over the fetus. It is more complicated in the area of Islamic people. Abortion acceptability is dictated by how restricted the practice is towards women. Bottom line, it comes down to men. For Catholics, it's even more complicated. Those who regularly attend Mass are more opposed to abortion. This bears out throughout organized religion. Where religious faith is a more important aspect to females than males statistically, the administration of all major organized religions is dominated by men. Governance of every major religion is overwhelmingly male and benefits men. Unfortunately, this historically does not bode well for reproductive rights. In the current U.S. Congress, the 118th, there are 634 elected people total. As Pew Research states, the U.S. Congress remains largely untouched by two trends that have long marked religious life in the United States: a decades-long decline in the share of Americans who identify as Christians, and a corresponding increase in the percentage who say they have no religious affiliation. The gender composition of the current Congress shows that 28% of the 634 identify as female. U.S. statistics show that 52% of the U.S. identify as female. There are no members of the current Congress who identify as non-binary. One of the supposed cornerstones of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights is the separation of church and state doctrine. But the impediments that pro-reproductive equity face are religious intransigence by prevailing organized religions, coupled with governmental representatives guided by religious intransigence who have prevailing influence on courts that don't reflect the representation of their constituents. Because of this, you have decisions like Dobbs. We repeat here, if you don't want to have an abortion or use contraception, don't. That's your decision. It's not your purview, however, to impose your values on others. Thank you for listening.
So I said, no, it was supposed to be my pentacle. Why did you die to me? I killed, I know, once a free for champions. I can't believe